Do you consider yourself introverted or extroverted?
That's a great question because I think about that a lot. I would consider myself an ambivert, and that's basically the middle point on the spectrum of being introverted and extroverted. A lot of times when you think of a spectrum, you're always ending up at one end or the other. And ambivert allows you to be fluid and to flow and flex between both ends of that spectrum. A lot of times when I think of myself at an event, I realize that I'll come in and I'll be very outgoing. I'll be excited to be at the event, and everyone will assume, oh, wow, she's so extroverted. She's a people person. And then maybe an hour to 2 hours into the event, I need to go sit on a couch somewhere by myself, probably with the lights off, just to kind of recoup, refresh, and build myself back up. So in some ways, I can see how my extroverted and introverted tendencies come out at different times of the day, and then also at different events. If I'm speaking or leading a panel, for example, which was something I just did last weekend, I enjoyed that experience so much. The most exhausting part was having to answer questions right after, because I realized it was like my switch for introvertedness just wanted to come back on. I wanted to like walk out the room and be done. And it was more so like everyone was so excited about how the panel went. I still had to put on this outgoing, excited face. And I was like, wow, I really just want to be an introvert. And I just want to curl up and not do anything. So it's me seeing that sometimes, you flex between both, and it's literally a fluid process.
I think that your definition kind of helps me understand that at times I believe I was introverted through forestry school, and then becoming a social media consultant, I've had to step outside that comfort zone and really show that at conferences, I'm ready to talk to people in the room and be a panelist and be a chair and be able to talk like you're talking about. And then when they start asking questions, you're not done yet. You really have to, I guess, either fuel yourself with some energy that you have left. You might as well have some coffee if you need some energy. I've been drinking coffee since 2015 so that I can still have a little bit of that pep in my step when we're at a conference.
And that's not at all to say that at conferences I don't want to be social. It's more so just acknowledging the differences in energy for different people. Everyone goes to conferences for different reasons, and thinking about how those reasons may differ for introverts as opposed to extroverts is a lot of times that's what comes into play, and that's what we're talking about here. So I really appreciate opportunities to network, and then even also to speak, to be on different panels, but it's not to say that it doesn't take a different amount of energy for different people.
Yeah, it's definitely trying to spread your energy in a way that helps everyone else.
Correct.
So, what is your favorite social media platform and why?
I would say it's a toss-up between LinkedIn and Instagram, only because I'm more familiar with Instagram and I'm just now starting to know what it means to have a resume, like a living resume on Instagram. I would primarily use it for personal and a lot of other social events. But it wasn't until I remember sharing, I want to say I shared a post about what I did for my job as a forest technician. And it was just like a video of me walking through the woods. And so many of my followers commented back to say, I didn't know that's what you do. Like, you're just in the woods, you just work there. And I was like, yes, this is what I do, and this is where it takes place. And I would say that gave me a lot of motivation to make sure I start sharing more of what I do. So Instagram in that way is a lot easier for me to navigate. But LinkedIn, I'm becoming more familiar with. Again, as I said, I started my LinkedIn profile in January of this year. And thanks to that profile, this has even afforded me this interview that I'm having today. I would not have been able to connect with you if I had not connected with you on LinkedIn. So just thinking about what it means to market yourself on different platforms and also in different ways, because a lot of the stuff I may share on Instagram will not be posted on LinkedIn and vice versa.
And so what you're saying is that each platform is unique, and in the way that you use them, it's completely up to you as to how you use them. But if you use them in a way that's going to definitely either spread your voice or help other people and give other people a perspective, then you can definitely take away something for yourself that's valuable and provide value, as you do with your videos in the woods, to other people. And historically, we haven't known how impact that makes, how much of an impact the basic forestry things would do. And they've definitely been helping other people understand that nature and being outside is good for you. And so it's really awesome that you found different unique ways of using social media to be the voice.
You also have to consider the audience you're trying to connect with. If I want to reach a lot of my family and friends back home in Connecticut, then I'm going to use Instagram. Not a lot of my friends have a LinkedIn profile, so that already changes the nature of the content that I'm sharing. If I want to connect with professionals that I met at a conference, I'm going to post that on LinkedIn because I don't know what their Instagram profile is or if they have one. So just thinking about how different platforms also change the type of content and then the nature of that content.
Definitely. I really am excited about your insights on the different types of platforms and the way that you've been using them. And in the future, it could change, and that's okay. We're going to evolve with the way that social media platforms are going and use them as we need for what we need and where we think our voice is heard.
Correct.
So awesome. Who are your role models right now? Who do you look up to, whether it be in forestry or in life in general?
I'd say my first role model would be Melody Mobley. She was the first African-American female forester with the U.S. Forest Service. And I remember stumbling upon her profile online, and it was so empowering to me, especially growing up and being the only African-American female forester in so many of my classes every day at work. You just have no idea what kind of toll that takes on your ideas about your capabilities in a profession where you don't see people that look like you. So I remember finding her profile and I was so excited. I wanted to know more. I wanted to know all the things I could about her career. And through LinkedIn, I was actually able to muster up the confidence and the courage to connect with her and then to send her a message. And I remember asking myself, what are you doing? Is it this easy to connect with someone you've never met before, but yet who's made such an impact on your life? The answer is yes. It actually is that easy. I ended up contacting her and I told her, hey, this is who I am. I'm a Black female in forestry. This is how much stumbling upon your profile meant to me. And she instantly wanted to meet up. We set up a Skype call, and now she's also one of my mentors. So just thinking about not only having a mentor, but then being able to contact them through LinkedIn, like that meant everything to me. So I'd say she's definitely one of my most influential mentors.
That is everything, because we are able to, we call it DM, which is direct message, or PM, which is personal message. But through those avenues on all the social media platforms, we are now able to actively message or send mail in the non-snail mail way. We can send instant messages to people and ask them or tell them what we do, and whether they respond or not. So I don't know about you, but I usually send a message, personal message, like you said, hey, this is who I am, this is what I do. I'm interested in what you're up to and what you're doing. I love the way that your post looks, or I love the way that, so you say something about their Instagram feed, if it's on Instagram. But that right there, doing that without expectation, I think is key, because you're able to reach people that you never would have been able to reach 30 years ago.
It definitely increases your access, because while I was able to find so much information about her career and everything she's done, I couldn't find her email address. It's not like I could find her cell phone number. So LinkedIn gives you access in other ways that you would not have had, that would not have been possible otherwise.
Definitely. And that's the way to go. And that's, if you guys, I'm just telling you as my audience, if you guys aren't doing that right now, go do it. Go message whoever you look up to right now. It is worth it. So what is your most valuable tip to tell our listeners while they're listening to your podcast episode today?
My most valuable tip would be, don't be afraid to be a pioneer, and it's okay to be a change maker. A lot of times when you think of going into spaces where you may not feel welcomed, or where you may not see people who look like you, who think like you, that doesn't mean you don't belong. that just means you're more unique than you possibly realize. And I would say that's a lot of times that's been my experience, especially being an African American female in forestry. I had no idea what forestry was about. And I didn't know all of the skills that I was bringing to this field. And I couldn't let my fears and I couldn't let my lack of mentors stop me from being the person that I am today in forestry. So I'd say my main tip would be basically don't let fear be your motivator. Make sure that you're focused on how unique you are. Make sure you're focused on the skills that you bring to this field that only you can bring.
Definitely. That's really the way to go, because there are going to be people that are, I call them the naysayers. So I've been learning about emotional intelligence.
Yep.
And so if you're able to build your emotional intelligence, then you know in yourself, you're self-aware, you know in your truth that who you are and what you're doing, and not having that fear is okay. And you can step outside of your scope and you can bring in an angle like you're bringing social change and be like, no, guys, this is real. This is my truth. This is how I feel. And if you feel that way, don't ever let it go. Right. You have to pave that path and be that pioneer that Jasmine's talking about, because that way you will make a difference. It may take 10 years, it may take 5 years, it may take a few months. We don't know. But if in your truth, you know that that's what you want to do and who you are, when people challenge it, let it go. Don't worry about it. Don't hold that fear or that anxiety. Let it go. Find an outlet. Find a hobby. Find a new hobby. Find a way to walk in the woods and release whatever the naysayers are telling you.
I remember early on in my career, I was afraid to be a pioneer. I didn't want to be a trailblazer. I more so wanted to follow after someone else. And that was a tough idea to hold on to, not knowing who I was following after. It wasn't as though someone in my family had been in forestry. It wasn't as though I had a close friend who was also in forestry. It was just me. So now with me being where I'm at in my career, when I run into other young foresters, it makes me think about encouraging them to do whatever they're passionate about. And especially when I run into foresters of color and other natural resource professionals, it makes me want to encourage them to also, it's okay to accept that it's, if you're the only or the first in the space that you exist in.
And that is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Take it from Jasmine and I. It is okay to release your fear and do what you do best, even if you're the only one doing it. Absolutely. So, what motivates you to get out of bed?
The fact that I'm not a morning person, I'm going to say I'm getting out of bed probably somewhere, 10, 11 o'clock. That sounds about right. But if I was to think about what motivates me to get out of bed, it's each day working towards change. Each day making sure that I'm enacting change, whether it be in the way that I think, in the way that I exist in different spaces, or in the way that I interact with people. Just a lot of times thinking about that daily motivation and daily progress is what motivates me.
So is daily progress a lot for you, or do you try to take it in day by day and piece by piece? Because in the pursuit of talking forests, there has been a time where I just want to do all the things, even in one day. Does that work out for you? Because I know it doesn't work out for me.
Nope, doesn't work over here either. I have to take things in little pieces, because when you bite off the entire pie, you don't really know how to digest it. You don't know where to start. So if I take off little pieces, if I create small task lists, I know I can tackle those small things. And that's a lot easier to accept and deal with.
Yeah, and that's a lesson that I've learned, and it definitely helps when you write a list but only do a few things and then tackle the next thing the next day. This is a tip to our listeners, if you write a list at the end of the day of what you want to do tomorrow, that can help out a lot too.
I've never thought of that, so thank you for sharing that with us also.
So what extra activities are your favorite? I would say outside of school and hopefully outside of forestry so we can get to know you a little better.
I want to say I list, if I had to think of anything, I'd probably start with journaling. I'd ultimately say I reflect a lot, and sometimes that reminds me of how much of an introvert I am, because if I don't make time to reflect, I feel so off balance. I feel like I need to digest everything that I just experienced in my life, and I also would like to record it and come back to it later on at another time. But the first thing would be journaling, and then the second thing I would say is learning. I had no idea just how much passion I actually had to be a learner, and coming back to grad school helps me see what it means to be a lifelong learner. I didn't know that I would always enjoy learning new things and having an open state of mind, and always staying humble and remaining in a sense of gratitude reminds me to say, you know what, I don't know everything. It's okay to admit that you don't know everything, no matter what the title of your position may be or the initials after your name. You having a PhD doesn't mean that you know everything. So with me going towards getting my master's now, that's something I always try and keep in mind, no matter who I'm talking to, is encouraging them to also be excited to learn, but I don't know everything.
I think that that's the definition of being humble, really, because you're able to ingest all this information. And I've also learned about knowledge and learning that you can either be in a classroom and or be outside and be learning and remember it, or maybe you learn so much or there's so much going on. If you don't reflect, like she just talked about, you might forget something or something might come up in your memory later that you were like, oh, I did retain that. But it's just kind of this balance of being able to ingest the knowledge at a pace that's right for you and to be able to learn, to be able to teach other people. I think that's been an experience that definitely can help others and to continually be learning in a humble way. I mean, that just means you're just passionate about learning.
Thank you. I would say I am. And that's something I was always encouraged to do, is to chase after whatever you're passionate about. Do the things that you love, do the things you feel at peace with. And that's something I've always had to encourage myself, especially thinking about how nervous and fearful I was of going into forestry and not having any prior experience to the profession. I had to realize, you know what? I have to accept this for what it is,
Mm-hmm.
but I also have to be okay with not knowing.
And that right there is, at your age again, is something that is going to take you very far, since you're already in that form and you're already saying, hey, I'm just going to go for it.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to take you places faster than other people. And in those growth stages that you're in, the other thing that comes up is that friends may come and go, and you're going to network. And with LinkedIn that we've been talking about, you're going to meet all these professionals, and then you'll have personal friends that not necessarily going to fall out, but they don't see you the same, or it's harder to get along with them because you have this worldly knowledge or you've done something that's way out of their scope that they may not think they can do. And so keeping an open mind and being able to talk to people humbly is what keeps those friends and what helps you go back home and be the hometown hero. So that for me, and it's been really rewarding for me to have a virtual mobile career that I've been able to still do and see part of my community. I'm able to work in the community even though I'm not physically there, so I still get to see what goes on and where people are, what people are doing. But I have to remind myself that even though I may be across the world and mobile going around to different countries, I'm changing. I have to go back home and still be open to the way that they are. They may not be changing.
That's something you always have to keep in mind, is not to come off as condescending when you are sharing some of your experiences and interacting with others.
Yes, I think that's part of the social interaction when you go back to a place that may be staying the same, or the other word for it is status quo. Mm-hmm. And yeah, definitely it's a challenge. So I think that you're going to experience that earlier than most people. So Just wanted to let you know. Do you have anything else that you would like to add to this episode today while you're on?
If I had to think of anything, I would say being okay with the unknown. With me being as young as I am, a lot of times I already like to have things mapped out. I already want to know how things are going to work. And I already want to know what my ultimate goal is. And sometimes thinking about how it's okay not to know is a lot of times what I've had to accept for myself. I've had to just go with the journey and go wherever it takes you. I had no idea I would be a graduate student in my forestry career. I knew I just wanted to work outside. I just wanted to work with trees. I didn't want to talk to people, by the way, either, because I wasn't a people person. I just wanted to be in the woods. And it wasn't until I started learning more and reading more that I was like, okay, well, that's actually a superficial expectation. I can't expect to be a forest technician and not interact with the person that's on the trail. I can't expect not to interact with the person walking their dog in the woods because I'm in their backyard. It's thinking about all the other things that overlap with your position that you may not even realize, and how those overlappings and interactions will shape and change you as a person and your career.
That is a great way to end, because you're definitely helping other people understand that you can choose something and be on this path, but you can also open your mind to talking to all the different types of people that you meet, whether you want to work with trees or not.
Correct.
So yeah, it's really important, and I'm really excited that you're bringing social change and you're involved in programs that can give you that platform. Because sometimes if you're a pioneer in an effort and you don't have people that can help you, mentor you, or even anyone to talk to about what you're doing, it can get pretty hard on your end, and you can start spinning your wheels and like trying to make change, and it doesn't actually happen because you don't have a platform to do so. But I think it's really important that you've already been involved and you're on this platform, and especially being the diversity scholar of Society of American Foresters, you have the voice for so many people right now. And I'm going to watch your journey this year and do everything I can to promote what you've been doing, who you are, what you want to do, your change. And whenever I see something on LinkedIn, I need to get to know you on Instagram, and we can definitely help each other and help other people at the same time.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your mentorship, and I've truly enjoyed this interview.
Thank you, Jasmine. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and go Beavs.
Go Beavs.